like ask you to introduce yourself to our readers.
So I'm Mr. Klaus Kenneth. I live in Switzerland. I have been for many years German. I'm German origin, but I have a Swiss passport now. And I'm becoming through many different religions to the Orthodox faith. And I wrote several books, and one book has becoming a bestseller in many countries and translated in about 10 languages. And I'm traveling around the world to bring people to the God of love. That's my main work I'm doing now in many countries. And I hope soon in Russia, because the book has been translated in Russian now. It would be a pleasure to come because I love the Russian people. My father, nobody knows that. My father, when I was, he was divorced after my mother, and my mother was hell. My mother was not, it was really a terrible woman, and she wanted to kill me, no joke. And my father became married after my mother to a Russian woman, Galina, and I would have so much love that she's my mother. She wasn't, of course, but that is the point why I love the Russians, because I loved this Galina. Okay. That's something nobody knows. You're the first one to hear that.
I think she was a good woman.
Yeah, that's why you felt, because my mother didn't have love for me. That was the problem. So.
Yeah, I know many nice German-Russian couples.
Yeah.
Really. My brother lives in Berlin for 25 years, and she has a German wife. She's also very nice.
Okay. So
what you can tell to those young people who are looking for the sense, looking for the goals, looking what are they should they do in life?
I can tell to these people, well, theoretically, read my book, but that's not business. To read my book means I have been in places where many young people go. Disco is not necessarily bad disco, but when you take drugs in disco and you go really down, or you go into excess alcohol like this, and I have been in these places. For 6 years I've been in the world of drugs, for insects, you know, where they brainwash you, and in esoteric movements. Everybody, Christian or not, looks for love, and our God is love. Our God is not religion. So the problem for me is how to tell these people that if they reject the church, because there is corruption in the church, of course there's corruption all over, but the church with a big C, not a small church, the small church has priests who are not so attractive, so they don't care about the young people. The church is perfect, the teaching is perfect, so my job is to speak to the people who have lost their hope in the local church because of corruption, bad priests, whatever. And they say, I don't want to know of God anymore. And to encourage them to see that we talk about love and not about the church, about love. God is love. And to go into the world where these young people live. And that's what priests very often don't do. They stand here and they say to the people, oh, you're bad, you must come up here. Whereas I go down to them and think that's all the secret. Christ became like us so that we can find him. Father Sophroni Sakharov, which was my spiritual father for 10 years, it was my friend. It was much deeper than spiritual father. So he was coming on my level. If he would have given me lessons about orthodoxy, goodbye. It's not my thing. He came on my level. And I do the same with the young people now. So to restore faith, trust, that they trust again. Yes, maybe I got the wrong way by judging the priests or whatever in the church. But the thing is, I want to find love. And this is the key to the heart, to the people, to come on their level and not to teach them anything, but to give them love, understanding. So that's something, a privilege to be able to do that. But it's very difficult also, because they're very stubborn. Sometimes they just don't want to listen. they have their egoism, they have their, they want to have fun, they want to have marijuana, they want to forget about this world. So it takes time. It takes time, but it's a hard job, but it's a privilege to do this kind of work.
Well, and why so much people are looking for some way in Oriental religions like Buddhism, Hinduism? They are very popular now, even in Russia.
All over. Yoga and
even
Zen
here
Buddhism.
we saw yoga clubs.
That's why I wrote a second book. I can show you tomorrow about gods, idols, and gurus. You have another question? Yeah, I will answer that one.
Yes, they say that orthodoxy, it is very skучно.
Boring.
It's boring.
Boring.
It is boring if you don't understand it. And that's the task of the priest, to tell the people what it is really. If you're Orthodox because your father and your mother or your grandmother was Orthodox, that's not a reason. You want to be Orthodox because you want it, not because they. The second, the parents forced the people in the church. I'm as a teacher in Switzerland, Catholic. But the kids in the gymnasium, they told me our parents force us to church. When I'm 18 years, I will never go to church. So that's the wrong way. Be the model. Show your kids that you have. What do you have? Joy, peace. You feel just great. And they will ask you, why are you like this, Papa or Mama? This is the point. The model effect I had with Father Sophroni, the model. That was the perfection. He was like Apostle Paul or Peter, said Father Sophroni. So they are bored in the church because they sit there, okay, like on television, you know, that. What do we say that to be part, to participate, to be part of the liturgy? Because we are one. But if you feel the neighbor is looking at me because I'm sitting, I should stand, you know, I must put something on my head, and you know, all these rules and rights, R and R I call it, that drives people away. Love is the point, but many people don't have. So the church, if you say, Gospodi pomiluj, Gospodi pomiluj, Gospodi pomiluj, Gospodi pomiluj, you don't even know why you say it. Unless you get a bit experience of Holy Spirit and you feel, oh God, I'm not so good after all, and then your Gospodi pomiluj becomes true. And then I tell the people, don't be hypocrite, don't say it unless you understand why you say it and you mean it. Don't say it otherwise. Don't make the sign of the cross, you know, like a flamenco player or something like that, you see. Do it because you want to, because you know what is the sign of the cross. All these things make church boring. If they go, they are forced to go. So it's a task of the priest to educate a parish, to tell the people, well, if you don't know, come on, Saturday evening or Friday, it doesn't matter, come, I will explain you a little bit, the words. As long as it's old, I don't know in Russia, is it old Slavonic? People do understand?
Yes.
Because in Serbia they speak old Slavonic. Nobody understands what they say. It's like in the Catholic Church when they spoke Latin. It's dead Latin. Why should I speak Latin? So, and in Serbia, I know when they speak old Slavonic, they stand there. What are they saying?
Yes, in Russian also.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
it's no use. See, these are points where the hierarchs should start to think. Do we want to have a clergy club, you know, like an exclusive golf club? Or do we want to have love and bring the people to guide them to Christ, who is love? Or do we have a rule with old Slavonic and rules and rights? That doesn't attract anybody. Why do people go to disco? You make church a disco, that means you give them joy. You give them something beautiful. Singing. Then they might be attracted, but we don't go to church for good singing. We go to church for Christ. It's not the singing, but it helps. You see.
And coming back to the question of yoga, Hinduism.
Yes, exactly. Yes, of course. Why did I go away? I was, you know, maybe from my book. I was 7 years a Hindu, and I was for 3.5 years a Buddhist monk. Even I became a monk. Why? Because I wasn't satisfied with the Christian teaching, which were putting pressure on me and and you will be punished if you don't go to church, and all these things. So people think then, especially in Buddhism, the ideas are very similar. When the people do start to meditation in Buddhism, they will understand that all the suffering in the world starts with our thoughts. And what Tadei, Father said, that our happiness, our unhappiness is determined by our thoughts. So in Buddhism, Buddha found out the same. He says, but if you suffer with your thoughts, Buddha says, don't think. Try not to think. So here comes the limits of the Buddhist and Zen Buddhist and those religions. And again, this is the job with my book or my talks, to tell the people, where does it lead to? To emptiness, or you want to have fullness? Emptiness is emptiness, and you are not a brother, not a sister anymore, because you're empty. That means don't hurt the other, respect him somehow, but don't interfere in his life. This is karma. So that I can explain this to the people. But they go there, it's exotic, it's not stupid, it's quite deep even, so it's not bad, but it's not the answer of love. It's the answer of a philosophy, of a life philosophy. I have been a Buddhist monk for 3.5 years. I know what I'm talking about. That's why I hear from the people when I speak to them, that guy Klaus is authentic. He's not giving book knowledge. In books you can sell anything. If you're good, intelligent enough, you can tell anybody. But if you really have the knowledge deep inside, then people understand, here are the limits. Up to here it is positive, it is good, it is human wisdom. You see, if you look all the Buddhist teaching, the Hindu teaching, everything, Father Sophroni was telling me that once, he was talking about the inverted pyramid, all the human values. If you take Socrates, if you take Sartre, if you take Nietzsche, all the philosophies, they are all this way. Everybody wants to be on top. And Father Sophroni said Christ inverted the pyramid, and he took the first place down there. Service, suffering for other, love is. So it is so completely different. In yoga, they preach relaxation. Look at in the world, everybody is suffering in the stress. The noise, the money in the bank, wherever you are, stress. So the people look for relaxation. But why do we suffer? Because we are sinners. And relaxation is not the answer. If you see your sinfulness, that means Christ preaches a cross and not relaxation. And nobody wants to cross. The cross is to start to see, I'm not good. I'm not good. That's why Adam and Eve. Adam, it's not my fault, the apple. Eve gave it to me, she's guilty. Eve, the serpent, the same mentality is there. Mm-hmm. Instead of saying, shit, I'm bad, I did wrong, go on to your knees, and then he says, Gospodi, pomilуй me. And then the peace comes, and not through yoga. But these things can develop deeper, you see. But I understand why people want to flee from the Christianity. Nobody likes a cross, and everybody wants relaxation.
And what do you think about Muslims? Why are they so strong and deep in their religions now?
They are, I don't know if you're mothers yet, not yet probably, but when a kid with 5 years is brainwashed, they will never think different. That this is the only religion in the world. They cannot. Catholics is Roman Catholic and Islam is just the same. They get brainwashed. The Roman Catholics kids. We are the only saving church. So the kids believe that.
But many people in Catholic countries are disappointed in church.
And that's why, but you are still Christians, so they can find Orthodoxy or Protestantism. That's what's happening. But Muslims, they see what is going on in the West. Sexual freedom, pornography, drugs, violence, stealing in the banking. The rules in Islam, they are not bad. I mean, okay, I was a hippie. When you steal, they cut your hand. I think I would have been cut to pieces because I was lying. They cut your tongue. They cut you. They make minced meat out of me. So, but the rules are there to protect. And Jesus said, "I'm not coming to abolish the law, but to fulfill." And that's love. If you have the love of Christ, you don't lie, you don't steal. So Muslims are brought up, normal families. I know now in the West. Try to question in Saudi Arabia. I have doubts about your faith. Cut your throat immediately. And I think in Algeria in the last years, 70,000 Christians were murdered, cut the throat. That's what they learned, because the model was Muhammad was a killer himself. It's no joke. I mean, the history of Islam shows that he was killing Jewish people with his own hand. So I think, you see, if you compare our God sacrifices his son, Jesus, so that we can have life. The Muslims, they tell you, if you're a mother, sacrifice your son for us. Make a suicide bomber. They kill everybody else, you see. It's just the opposite. They perverted. It was Jewish teaching in the beginning. It was very Jewish, but they perverted it to the opposite. Brainwashed. I thought when in Cairo and in Tunisia, the Arab springtime, 2 or 3 years ago, the first time in history of 1,500 years that people started to question, do we want these Muslim brothers? They said, no, the intelligent people, the primitive people without education, they still follow,